Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. It's relatively early on Sunday. This is not going to be a normal Sunday chat, far from it. It's going to be made up of bits, actually separate sections. It'll all join together, it'll be one video, but there are things to just do, and I don't want it to be too long. Right, first of all, chatty bit. The Bournemouth show yesterday was quite spectacular. The competitive element, you know, the actual members plants competition sort of thing with the various classes, had more specimen plants than I have ever seen at an Orchid Society show, ever. There were some stunning specimen plants there, absolutely stunning. And silverware all over the place as a consequence. Yes, so that was good. Their show is in a decent sized hall. It's actually quite big, so you quite a good few traders and lots of other ancillary things going on. They have a kiddies section, you know, so that younger kiddies can be entertained, because you know they sort of think, oh, pretty orchids. So that's enough of that. Attention span of an ant. But yeah, so yeah, it was a good show. The journey back from Hannah's to go to the show had so many hiccups in it, you know, hold-ups on the roads. There's some roadworks between Ringwood and Fording Bridge, you know, traffic lights. There's some continuing works going on. Massive queue to get through there on a Saturday morning, you know, people all heading into town, that sort of stuff. And then there's another long section of road that just had a massive queue, and when you get to the end of it, it's a roundabout, and you think, oh, what's the problem? Just go. It's a roundabout like all the others you've ever seen. You give way to the right, and when there's a gap, you go. You don't sit there thinking, shall I? Useless people. Anyway, so the journey took an awful long time to get to the show. Neither of us had had breakfast or anything, so the first job was eat. Not orchids, it was eat. So we went and had a cooked breakfast, and then the other people from Wessex Orchid Society came out. They finished the judging and everything, so they came out to have their food. So we went and sat with them for a while, and then eventually went into the show, which was the main reason for going, I suppose. But yeah, it was a very good show. Now I have got some new plants, so we will do an unbagging. They both came from Burnham, so they're wrapped up in Burnham's normal style with a little carrier bag. I wanted to get some new orchid focus because Peter White was there, Orchid Accessories, but the only one he had was the bloom, which I don't want. So I sent him an email to remind him to bring one to our show, and I got the gap in the dates wrong. I've been saying that, and then in 2 weeks' time is the Wessex show. It's next Sunday, so it's like 2 weekends on the trot. And obviously next weekend our own show. I'm a busy person at that show. I've got to get all set up in the car and everything, and get there early to help set up. Get the front table set up for the people coming in the door and all the treasurer's stuff done. Any plants that I decide to take, I've got to get those entered in and everything. And we're not going to have a fun show. We're short on people. There's a couple that always run the raffle for us. The guy's had his hip, finally, after about 2.5 years of waiting, he's had his hip operations and he's not well enough to come. So we need volunteers for the raffle. We're not sure whether our members' secretary is going to be there. Hopefully yes, she's a good friend. And if not, then we're short there. And we're also short in the kitchen for the catering. So yeah, it's going to be difficult to field all the things we normally do. Well, we'll just have to do our best, won't we? But that's next Sunday, so I should be out all day Sunday. It's an early start, and I've got to stay there till the end of the show. So I won't get home till sort of 5:30, 6 o'clock. Yes, so there won't be a Sunday chat next week, I doubt, unless I film it on Saturday in advance and post it before I go on Sunday. That's a possibility, but not definite. One thing I did notice was in the Orchid show yesterday at Bournemouth, there was a Pleione granulosa in the competitive element, nowhere near as good as mine. It hadn't got an award or anything, but you know, I thought, you know, well, maybe that can go to our show then if it's still okay. So now I've only got a week to go, I can plan what plants I'm going to take. You know, I'm determined to take at least one Cymbidium. I can't take Jamie Red because it would be too much work to get the scale off, but I believe I can take the Cali Knight, providing a second spike opens by then. It's got one spike open. If another one opens, which I think it will, then that'll be good enough to take. And there's virtually no scale on that, so it'll just need a quick clean up basically. It's already in a black pot. You know, just give the black pot a wipe off and it's ready to go. And I may well take my two Coelogenes, the cristata and the granulosa. I don't think the other one, the one in the funny flat basket tray, I don't think that's going to be fully open in time, although it may be. But it's not presentable. I can't really take that to the show in that basket, and that basket doesn't lend itself to go inside a black pot. It's too big. So we'll have to think about that. Yes, World Affairs, I'm just going to put one statement out. I think the proverbial poo has hit the fan. Oh, you could see it coming a mile off. It's not so much what has been over the last, whatever it is, 24 hours, it's what comes next. What happens now? You know. Still, I'm well out of it. I do feel sorry for people that are stuck, but I don't get a lot of sympathies with people that go for holidays and things like that in volatile areas. Because the first thing that happens is the airport's shut, because the airspace is closed. If you're on a high alert for anything in the air coming down and making big bangs in your area, then basically your defence is on a high alert. If it's flying and you've grounded everything, then it's got to be wrong and you shoot it down. So we don't want to be decking passenger aircraft, do we? So everything's grounded, so people are stuck. Well, don't go there then, don't we? There's plenty of other safe places you can go on holiday. Probably not with as much sunshine, but there we go. Right, so the next thing is I want to look at a problem that I believe has solved itself. It's still only a theory, but the theory's getting more and more sound as it goes on. Right, the continuing saga of Pleione Zeus. Now I've had to cut another two buds off. One of them opened like that, and then on the second day it started to go brown. A bud went brown, so they both cut off. And we've still got a couple of buds to go, and then we'll be into growing leaves, you know, like this one that started already. But you can see it's not open properly. Yeah? And we've had lots of theories of what's going wrong. I'll just put that back where it came from. And something I noticed this morning because I saw the colour reflected in the glass. That's what they should look like. Now that's Pleione Tongariro, which is a very common and okay, simple to grow, classed as easy. Pleione. Well, that's what they're supposed to look like. That's how they're supposed to open. Yeah? With the two petals and the lip forming that sort of triangle shape, and then the sepals filling in the gaps. That's what they're supposed to look like. By the way, that is a gorgeous flower. And more to come. So that disputes or disproves, in my opinion, that it's too warm. because these are in the same place. They're all in the same environment, and these are opening fine and growing on. And some of the bulbils are already producing their leaves, because they're obviously they're not due to flower anyway. They just got to, you know, produce a decent sized leaf and a new bulb that hopefully will be flowering size next year. But yeah, we've got one open, one to come, and you can see there's more buds. There will be more buds. These are buds as well, so these are flowering size, whereas that's good. See, now that I'm getting used to what happens, the buds are reasonably obvious, and those that aren't going to flower are becoming obvious. Like this is just not going to flower, it'll just be a leaf. This one here will just be a leaf, but the one next to it will be a flower. So I'm getting the hang of things now. But that disproves that there's basically a problem with the growing environment, because they're all in the same media. They've all had the same amount of watering, but that one doesn't open properly and doesn't last long. I go back to my theory of why they were given away at the Orchid Society. Maybe it's a trait of that particular hybrid. And that's all I shall say on it for now. I did ask around yesterday with committee members, Orchid Society members, and Sarah herself. And she said, well, it could possibly be that they're too warm. She said the easiest way to sort of disprove that is just put them outside, somewhere sheltered where they don't get soaking wet all the time, and just see if they improve. See, now I could do that for this because there is another bud that's not, you know, that's not developed yet, but it could have developed too far for the temperature to have any effect on it. And I mean, this one's starting to open anyway, so I don't think I'll bother. Not for that anyway. Right. That's that. The next bit is looking at the new plants. The bit after that that I will end on is the photos that Hannah took at the show yesterday. I will put into a slideshow at the end of this video with some music, so that's that, and then that will be the end. I'm not coming back at the end to do any more chatting. So thanks for, you know, all the normal thank yous. Thanks for being members, Patreon and on YouTube. And on that subject, on the YouTube membership, I've lost one and gained one. Now, I might not have the chance to update the roll call at the end. You know, time's different when Hannah's down for the weekend, so yeah, so that might not get done this week. There's no Sunday chat next week, might not get done next week anyway. But it is now March, and at the beginning of March I do have a members video to do, which I will do as early next week as I can. Probably might film it Monday actually. See, I can post that Tuesday first thing if I film it Monday. We'll see how we go. It's supposed to be a nice day tomorrow. I need to get the RO unit on and top up all my storage containers because I'm virtually out of water. I haven't got enough to water the cymbidiums and they're due, so I need to get the RO unit on. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so I shall put those stills together at the end. And yeah, thanks for being members. Thanks for the contributions and everything via those monthly sort of memberships. Thanks for watching the videos. Thanks for doing the thumbs up. Thanks for being a subscriber. If you're not, would not be nice if you did so. All the usual sort of Sunday thank yous. And don't forget your hypes. Don't forget to hype your favourite channel. Choose a video, or you can use all three hypes on the same video if you want. You know, that's the tightest you can help a video on a particular channel. And it does help that video get promoted in the suggestions list that YouTube provide. The more points they get, the higher up the list YouTube puts them. So yeah, so all that's going on as usual. Right, I shall swing the camera around and we'll get the new plants out. They're not super duper exciting. One's not even in bloom, but it was a good version of a plant I once had. And I thought, yeah, we can go with replace, because at first it looked like I was coming home with absolutely nothing. I couldn't see anything I fancied. But then I noticed both of these came from Burnham, so let's get on and do that then. I'll swing the camera around. I would normally, if I'm doing anything on this bench, I normally take the Cymbidium out of the way, but just to get these out of the bag, I shan't bother, because they won't touch the Cymbidium. Right, something like that. I can hold them up to the camera anyway. Right, so the first one is not in bloom. And despite mentioning it quite a few times to Sarah, she said, I'm not changing all the labels, but this plant has been renamed some time ago. Cool, there's extra lot of paper on here. Right, so what we've got here is a new Phylogeny. Been grown on from a seedling, so telltale signs. Starts off with a very small pseudo bulb. Yeah, so these have been grown at Burnham, so these will have come through their lab processes. And what we've got here is a new growth on this bulb, and this bulb. So this plant is going to produce 3 new bulbs. And hopefully they will all be as big as this one, not the smaller ones, because this big one produced 2 new growths, but they're now producing new growths before they've developed to the size of the original. So they haven't grown. That's probably at the point they were repotted, so the roots got disturbed. But this, the label says this is Phylogeny Orchid. Well, that was renamed as Nitida, or Nitida, however you want to say it, quite a long time ago now, so that's the name I will use. I will probably wait for those new growths to start producing roots, and even though this may not have been in the pot very long, I will repot it, because I don't like Phylogenies in unknown media. Their roots can go downhill very quickly, and I can't see them. So I want to get it in a clear pot in known media. So that's that one. Those new growths may well bloom. Very fragrant Phylogeny. Not large blooms, but a very nice shape, very nice colours, and very fragrant. Some people think the fragrance is not horrible, but not quite as nice as they expected it to be. I think that's the polite version. So that's that one. And then I've been a bit silly with the other one, because these don't, despite the fact that they should grow a lot better, these still don't grow that well for me. But it doesn't look a bad plant. And I don't quite know why it's leaking everywhere. But it is, so must have been watered at some point, and the residual moisture has come out the bottom of the pot because the paper's soaking wet. Paper everywhere. So what we've got is a new Miltoniopsis. Now it's a 2-bulb plant, but the bulbs are connected, so it is a single plant. The bulbs are very plump, and we have 2 spikes, and we have a very, very attractive Miltoniopsis bloom. I've got a feeling I may have just said Miltonia. Miltoniopsis with a lovely splash pattern. So that's what attracted me, was the actual blooms. It seems almost impossible to buy a really good Miltoniopsis plant, with 5 or 6 good strong bulbs on it and a nice new growth sort of thing. You just don't seem to be able to get them. This is in this cocoa fibre stuff, which these grow very well in, providing you're ultra careful with the watering, because these should not dry out, but they don't like to be soggy. The roots rot very easily, but they also die very easily if they're too dry. These are typical cloud forest plants. Yeah? Where they grow naturally, they don't grow in a great deal. You know, they don't grow loads of roots, they don't attach rigidly to a tree or anything. They tend to be growing in more loose materials and stuff like that. And the cloud forest environment just suits them fine, because you get in the morning you've got the mist and the fog and the morning dew and everything's all damp and drippy and often drizzly as well. And then after lunchtime it sort of clears up and brightens up a bit, gives them a chance to dry off. And then you repeat that on a daily basis with a good amount of light, daylight hours. I don't mean strong light, they don't like strong light. But anyway, within reason, my environment here should allow me to grow these quite well. And I'm certainly growing them better than I ever had, but I still don't think I'm growing them well. But anyway, we will have a go with another one that's starting off with two nice strong fat bulbs, and we'll see how we do. I don't know whether it's actually got a name or not. No. So hybrid. No ID. So there we go, that's the two plants I bought. And this one. The Miltoniopsis will get repotted when it starts to grow, which it isn't doing now. One thing I will say, I had quite a long chat with my friend Brian Gould. He's the guy who grows the brilliant Cymbidiums, Odontoglossums and Cattleyas. Very, very long-term grower as well. And there are little knacks, little snippets of information I often get from him. And I said about my odonts just don't seem to grow very well, and they should. He just looked straight at me. Well, they're too wet, I expect. And that's highly likely to be true. I might have to change my media again for what I'm growing those in, although most of them are just in bark now, which means they shouldn't be too wet. But a tip I got is that you need to stress the plants, and that will aid them to grow much stronger. What exactly do you mean? He said, well, when you get a spike starting, stop all feed. Don't feed it. You've got, okay, we call them pseudo bulbs, but they work just like a bulb. All of the energy to produce that spike and those blooms comes from the bulb. It doesn't need roots at that point. It's going to do that anyway. And the strength in the bulb is what you did when you grew it. It then gets used to produce the spike. And then he said, after they finish blooming, don't leave the spike on to die right back. Take it off a bit early if you can. The plant is now under stress because it's produced its spike using a fair bit of the energy that was stored up. That's okay, but it now hasn't got a flower spike. So it will come back into growth. But several of them, many of them in fact, will have a rest after that flower spike comes off. No feed and very little water. The plant needs to think it's heading towards death without it actually happening, and it will burst into growth, and the growths will be quite strong and produce a better root system because the plant thinks it may die. So, worth remembering. The trouble is, all these little tips imply individual treatment for individual plants, and when you've got a large collection, that's incredibly difficult to do. You know, if I water my pots, they all get the same. So if it's a feed run, they're all going to get some. I've now got the theory that I need to take some plants out and not feed them, and in some cases not water them either. It starts getting more complicated, but you know, if I need to grow them well, then I need to listen to these sort of people and try and act on it as best I can. Anyway, that's that. I'm now going to go and sit down and sort this video out before Hannah comes down. And as I said, I will end the video with the photos that Hannah took on her phone and put them together as a slideshow. And so bye for now, and I'll see you in the next one. I hope you've enjoyed the shorter version of the Sunday chat. For those who like the really long, just chatty ones, there will be some more. It's just not convenient to do one today. So I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.